What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of The Dig, a series dedicated to helping you improve profitability on your farm.
We are so excited to have Luke Schulte, Ohio field agronomist, in the studio with us today to talk about everyone's favorite topic, fall fertility. I'm Aaron, this is Collin.
I'm Luke.
Let's dig in.
Oh crap, I forgot I'm supposed to do that.
Let's dig in. There are a lot of things to keep in mind when it comes to fall fertility and setting ourselves up for success for the 2024 season.
That's right, Collin. The success of next year's crop really is going to depend on the fertility things that we do this fall to feed that crop. So where do we start? I say we ask the expert over here.
I guess that's me.
Luke, yeah, you're the expert.
Good to know. Good to know. Well, when it comes to building a fertility plan, it's really all about knowing what do we currently have within our bank account. You know, we wouldn't plant a crop next year and expect success without building a budget first. It's hard to know what expenses can we justify, what is our forgiveness factor, and the same applies to fertility. An 8-year-old soil test isn't particularly accurate today. So having recent soil tests is very important because the status of the nutrients within that bank account continually change. They change from an immobile to a plant available status. So it's imperative that as we're building fertility recommendations that we know what is the current state of our phosphorus, of our potassium levels.
With fertilizer being a big investment, we're always looking for ways to be more efficient. And this study really evaluates if placing it in bands beneath the row would allow us to use less without sacrificing yields.
So if you're considering banding nutrients, you may think about a strip till bar. Many farmers are using strip till bars that consist of a couple different application methods. Some are using a deep shank, some are using a series of coulter, but the emphasis is where they're applying those nutrients. And that has the potential to provide several different benefits. Number one is just that concentrated nutrients where the largest portion of those roots are going to likely intercept it and hopefully get better nutrient uptake. Secondly, if we can maintain that aggregate stability in that strip, we'll have a lower soil density for those roots to penetrate, giving it greater access to nutrients, moisture throughout the growing season next year. And then lastly, another potential benefit is warmer soil in the spring. Because we're sizing that residue, because we're moving that residue to the side, that strip will warm up quicker in the spring, hopefully allowing it to dry out and allowing us to plant at an earlier time frame.
In our nutrient management broadcast versus banded study, we've been evaluating various rates of fertility applied in strip till banded and also broadcast treatments to see which system is the most profitable. The broadcast treatments include no-till and conventional till, where we'll go in, broadcast it, and then disc rip it in the fall, field cultivate it in the spring, and then plant it. Luke, what kind of rates are we doing in this study?
Yeah, Aaron, so within this treatment, we're looking at a couple different application rates. Some at 100%, which is 150 pound of MAP, 150 pound of potash, but then we're also reducing the rate by 25% or applying 75% of that 150 pounds of each of those products. And then in the last treatment, we're only applying half. So we're reducing that rate by 50%, applying 75 pounds of each product.
With strip banding, we use the same testing rates as the no-till and the conventional till treatments, but also add a 25% rate consisting of 37.5 pounds of potash and 37.5 pounds of MAP. In 2022, the 25% strip till banded treatment in corn provided the highest ROI of a little over $47. But our 3-year data is not as consistent, so we will continue implementing this study in the future. We have, however, observed the fairly consistent trends favoring strip till banding over the no-till broadcast applications.
So we wanted to put some numbers around this whole spring versus fall stuff. So that's why we implemented a fall versus spring nutrient management banding study to determine if there are differences in yield and profitability when banding at different times throughout the season. So far, our 2-year multi-location data shows a slight benefit to spring banding. However, like I mentioned before, there's manpower and logistics that may limit the feasibility of this option for a lot of growers. Also, in my experience, doing that spring application, there's times where we can kind of disturb that soil structure that we have going and limits our ability to have a really nice seed bank. All right, Luke, so we pretty briefly here hit on a lot of things fertility, right? Placement, time of year, different rates. Are there any things that you think, being the expert, that our viewers need to know still?
So yeah, Aaron, so regardless of when you're gonna apply those nutrients or how you're gonna apply those nutrients, building a sound fertility, profitable fertility plan revolves around a couple things. Number one, a current soil test so that we know the current status of our nutrient banks. But I also want you to think about the nutrient bank account. When I look at fertility, I look at like a revolving line of credit, okay? What we apply this fall or perhaps next spring isn't necessarily gonna be removed directly in the grain of 2024 because nutrients are continually changing status. Some are immobile, some are plant available, and they're continually evolving. So if we wanna maximize profitability and feeding our crop, it revolves around a good soil test, but also it centers around what do we do to maintain aggregate stability or good soil structure, which is just a fancy term for saying how do we maintain oxygen within our soils. So that way we can allow those microbes to thrive, cycle as many of those nutrients that are already within that bank account to feed the crop the most adequately and efficiently. That's what will impact profitability.
Well, that's it for this episode of The Dig. Luke, that was actually kind of fun.
Well, maybe for you guys, but thanks for having me anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, Luke, anytime, you know, if we can get an expert to be on the video with us, that means we don't have to talk as much, and we really appreciate that. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you again on another episode of
The Dig.
Where we'll come in, broadcast it. Can you scroll back up?
It's Halloween, casket.
Oh yeah.
Luke, maybe a little bit more enthusiasm.
I'll do my best.
I'm Luke.
Freaking Luke!
You could say I'm cool and Luke.
Let's dig in!
We should have told you that all three of us do that.
Have you never watched this before, Luke?